Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us in this weekly consciousness. We are going to read from the Zohar portion Vaigash, page 309 in the English. So let's go ahead and read from the beginning here.
We receive an introduction to the types of men who descended from Adam and how each type can bring merit and benefit to the others. Just as the beneficiary or carrier of charity gains merit in the same degree as the giver, this powerful analogy leads to further discussion of the relationship between charity carrier and the analogous sphirot that exist above our physical realm. To assist our understanding of its inherent mystery, unity is explored as it exists within the theme of mating, specifically the mating of the Holy One with Israel, and the illumination following this supreme union. All can be blessed. Continue.
Mm-hmm.
When a man and woman join together in sexual union within the spiritual confines of marriage, their connection creates a stirring above. The lower world embraces the upper world, and divine light fills all. But the man and woman must be pure of thought and joined by love. Their union must be accompanied by a consciousness to share pleasure for the purpose of creating light for each other and the world.
Very good. So, where's my screen? Here we go. ולא יכול יוסף להתאפק לכל הניצבים עליו, וגומר, רבי חייא פתח ואמר, פיזר נתן לאביונים, צדקתו עומדת לעד, קרנות ערום בכבוד, תח הזה קודשה בריחו ברא, עלמה והשלט עלה. לאדם דיהה מלכה על קולה. Go ahead.
Then Joseph could not restrain himself before all them that stood by him. Rabbi Chia opened the discussion with the verse, he has distributed freely, he has given to the poor, his righteousness endures forever. His horn shall be exalted with honor. Come and behold, the Holy One, blessed be he, created the world and made Adam ruler over it, to be king over all.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we know that every time we speak about Joseph, we're talking about a couple of things. One is the energy of prosperity, because we're talking about Joseph being the chariot for Yesod. And Yesod, every time that we do meditation on tithing, donation, and whatnot, we are meditating on the Sphira of Yesod, which is the gate for all abundance coming or flow on this physical plane. And so that is what we want to keep in our mind every time that we hear in the Zohar or the Torah, we hear the word Joseph, Yosef, we want to meditate, opening the gates of abundance in our own life. And abundance is very subjective for every single person. For one person, abundance could be money. Another person could be finally finding the soulmate. And another individual is to have children. Another individual is to have friends. I know somebody who has almost all the above, but is very awkward with people. He's not very social, but he's very successful, and he has money, and he has like all the 1%, and he's even married with children. And ultimately, after 30 years of marriage, he divorced because he's awkward, and not only to his wife, but also to his children and to his friends and to his family. He's like the awkward guy, and it happens sometimes, right? And so if you think about a person like this, when he thinks about prosperity or abundance, he has like, like what a person can think of, like in the 1%, but, to have an abundance of communication, abundance of easygoing, abundance of finding the right words at the right time, abundance of inspiration, abundance of humor. I could ask for an abundance of humor. Like you can tell me a joke, and 2 seconds later I forget the joke. It's like typical with me. And then there are people like I remember in the center, like in the old days, on Friday night, we would sit with the Rav and with Yehuda and Michael, and like for hours we would tell jokes. I would listen to the jokes, but then you would have always like the 2 or 3 of them that would always be the one to tell the jokes, and it's like they have a repertory like in their own mind, in their own head, of all these jokes, like like that you've never heard before. I find it like I don't know. I think it's a gift for somebody to have such a good memory, and usually it's not if they have memory with jokes, they have memories with other things. So, but those gifts, again, it's something that I mentioned, like not so long ago, when someone comes with a gift, only this person has that very specific gift that is meticulously drafted and custom made for this person. It doesn't mean that other people don't have good memory or not funny. That's not the point. But your talent, your gift is unique to you. And I know a lot of people, a lot of us are dealing with low self-esteem, low self-confidence, and that is because our gift and talent is not exactly, at most time, shining bright to show us, how much we have to give the world, how much we have to give the universe, and we are giving to the world, and we are giving to the universe. And so the abundance is always there, right? Like we say, like I'm infinite, you connect to the light is infinite, so why don't I have it? And the main reason is because we're not opening our spiritual eyes to see that it's right here. And so if there are any blockages, it's not blockages that I don't have the abundance, it's just that I'm blocking the flow of that abundance to come and manifest into my life. But by the way, there are certain streams of abundance that you do draw that other people don't. And you can think about it, there is at least one area in your life where you are more blessed than somebody else. You will always find somebody that has less than you. And just like thinking about it in this way can not only humble us, but can also humble, maybe our appreciation and gratefulness for what we have, and reduce a little bit of the expectations or the maybe the out of reach expectation of the things that we are hoping to attain right now, or looking at that the grass of the neighbor is greener than ours, etc. Everybody knows the proverb. So if that neighbor has a greener grass, and if that neighbor has the newest car, and that neighbor married to a 25-year-old younger than him wife, and he just like won the jackpot, and every time he goes to the casino and he plays the roulette, and he plays red, it comes out red, he plays black, it comes out black, and that person just seems so lucky. And there would always be somebody who seems luckier than us. And the truth is, when we are becoming cognizant of what type of abundance is flowing with a capital IS, is flowing in our life, and stop paying attention to maybe to the channels that are not open for us, and they're not supposed to open for us. And in a lot of ways, we are stubborn to almost force the hand of the universe. Right now, this is what I want. This is what I want. This is the quantity that I want, and this is the quality that I want, and I don't want anything else. And in the meantime, the universe brings you something that you really need right now, and you say to the universe, no, but this is not what I'm focused on right now. This is what I want. And this is usually the I would say the pattern that happens in someone's life, where abundance has been basically flowing endlessly in each one of our lives. But majority of the times, we're not focused on this flow. We're not focused on this stream. We are always focused on something else. We're always focused on the future. We're focused on the past. We're focused on things that are not reachable right now. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't have goals and dreams and hopes and things like that. But at the same time, we need to be realistic in the way that, if you want to go from 0 to 1 billion, that's going to take some work. And so the reason why a lot of times it doesn't work is that, imagine like a 12-year-old that wants to meet the soulmate and he wants to already have 2 children. I mean, it's a great dream and you're probably going to achieve it if you're steady and you become like a good guy and you're respectful of women, and because you can get, married and almost, find almost anybody, but, 2 days later you're divorced, because if there is no mutual respect and there is no tolerance and compassion and sharing and restriction and all these ingredients that come together, then you don't have like the right recipe for something that is going to be lasting. But again, your desire might be premature, but it doesn't mean that it's wrong. It could be that it is premature, and in the meantime, focus on something else that the universe wants to give to you right now. The reason that we are unhappy, the reason that we are lonely, the reason that we feel aggravated or frustrated is because we're not focusing on what the universe is trying to share with us right now, is trying to give to us right now. And it can be something physical, or it can be something emotional. It can be a spiritual lesson that the universe is, knocking on our door, and we say, no, I'm busy with this other thing. I have like this whole project going on, and I'm busy with all these different things. And then the universe comes and slap the person's life in the face. And the person is like, like everything is like on standstill for 2 or 3 days. Okay, so you said, like to this person and that person that asked you for help or asked you to come join them for something, for a party, for a get together. And you said, I'm so busy, I can do this, I can do that. I'm like overwhelmed. And the universe is showing you, now you need to pause and you need to focus what the universe wants of you, for you, so that you can channel whatever it is that you need to manifest right now. We are all super busy and we are all like on a fast track of life. And every area keeps us like super busy. If it's like your physical, financial work, or if it is the work with your children or with your spouse or with your neighbors or whatnot, we're always busy with a gazillion of things. I had a conversation with Rebecca the other day. She got like a little bit annoyed with me. It happens very often, by the way. And like, like she was saying that, that her mother, she was a housewife, and that was like a life choice. She was a professional a woman before. She was working, I can't remember the field, and she was very successful until she married Michael, Rebecca's father. And then when they had like 1, 2, and then the 3 children, she basically decided to be a housewife. And I said, very obnoxious now that I'm thinking about it out loud. So what did she do all day? And it certainly is something that you don't realize unless you're in the position of being a housewife, between, not just taking care of the house, but she was taking care of basically everything. Michael was the bread earner, I guess that's how you say it. And he was traveling a lot, and she was taking care of basically everything. And I kept on asking, like super annoying, but what was she? Like I really wanted, like I'm very practical in my mind, but what was the schedule? What did she do from the moment that she wake up to the moment that I was genuinely curious. As a Gemini, I'm very curious and I'm very meticulous and I'm very like, break it down for me. Otherwise I don't get it. The conversation ended. I still didn't get it. But Rebecca made a different choice, and maybe the mistake that I made is is that I compared Rebecca's life to her mother's, because Rebecca is a housewife, but she's also a spiritual, like not a spiritual, but she's a conscious parenting coach. She has a business, she has clients, and she has like all these things going on, and she's like juggling like between all those things, between the 3 kids, and so I see you, you know, doing everything that you do, and you're an entrepreneur, and your mom, she was just another mistake, and she was just. I was like piling up the mistake after mistake. Anyway, it wasn't a good conversation. But at the end of the day, maybe I was supposed to go through this so that we can have this conversation. And so if you're thinking about, again, the word abundance, it's not about having the abundance that's going to necessarily translate in the quantity of what you wish to have. Because if a person thinks about like the dollars, you can have right now like $100,000 or $1 million or $10 million. And I've read and even spoke to people that were very successful. I was the teacher of a guy in Poland. His net worth cash, he hated having mortgages and things like that. His net cash worth was $780 million. And the guy was not fulfilled. He was super busy. He was super outgoing and very charismatic. But as we started to do those Kabbalah lessons, once a week, we were meeting once a week. I was going there, you know, like I didn't have that many students that were speaking English. And so I would have this meeting once a week. And he had like 20 different companies. And when I would come to his office, he would tell his assistant, stop everything. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to be interrupted. I don't want to receive any phone calls. And that would be like for 2 hours a week for somebody who had 20 different businesses, had such amount of cash flow, and still with everything that you can imagine in the 1%, it wasn't enough. And he felt, at least for the time being that we were having these classes, that he appreciated, and he brought afterwards his wife and his children and his parents to listen to the lecture or to listen to the conversation. And because they were feeling light, they were feeling energy that was in those meetings. He was feeling that he wasn't getting anything from those sessions in any type of context or environment that he was part of for the last 50 years. And so it is such a crucial term to understand, what does it mean for me, abundance? And I think the clearer you are about the idea of abundance, and not that you would start focusing on it, but that you would start letting go. Letting go of what you need, not what you want. Letting go, actually, it's the opposite. Letting go of what you want and enable the universe to allow the universe to give you what you need. And majority of times, if it's not most of the times, what we want is much less than what we need. So whatever it is that you're focusing on, that you take a break of your busy life and you're starting to wonder, I'm unhappy about this, I'm unhappy about that, I don't have enough of this, I don't have enough of that. You need to know for sure that right now you're not letting go about what it is that you want or that you don't want. You're not enabling, you're not allowing the universe to give you what you need. And so here we read about, Joseph the Righteous. He's incarnating letting go. He's incarnating enabling. He's incarnating allowing the universe. Although he's a human being, and also this is how this verse starts by "Velo yachol Yosef litapek lechol hanitzavim alav." And Joseph couldn't restrain himself. Whatever he was going through, I'm not going to go into the history part, that he couldn't restrict, he couldn't stop himself from revealing himself to his brothers, to show them that he's not an ambassador or the right hand of Pharaoh. He's actually their brother. But he felt that if he was going to reveal, there was a process in motion. And if he was revealing himself too early, whatever they needed to spiritually, emotionally, universally go through, he would have skipped that process and they would have missed the entire potential of what they were supposed to receive. And so this is like, like another level of, letting go, because you're not letting go of what it is that you want so that the universe can give you what you need, but it implicates also the people that are around you. Most of the time, you think that you know better what your child needs. You think that you know better what your girlfriend or what your wife or what your husband needs, right? And the best reason from the opponent, obviously, it's not from the soul, is that you care. And suddenly the word caring becomes not an antidote. It becomes an enemy. It becomes an objector. It becomes a barrier to allowing the universe, to allow the light to come and to give you and to give your loved one and the people that you, quote unquote, care about, give them what they need. And this is not just a one-time thing, because usually when we have this dynamic with people that we care about, it's not just like, like 15 minutes. It's a lifetime of maybe bad habits that we have built with not allowing an individual to express what he needs, right? And so I see it in a microcosm with all the teachings that Rebecca, I have like the paka of all the conscious parenting every single day. So I hear all those great lessons that she's sharing, if it's in a class or if it's with the individuals, that it is how much it is that we are putting blockages with what our children really need. And we are either being impatient, or we get aggravated, or they're pushing our buttons. They throw tantrums, they get upset and they get annoyed and they call names. And a lot of the times it's because they have a need that is not being met. And so I'm giving you here an example with children. By extension, it works the same for adults. When an adult does not have a need that is being met, he starts or she starts acting out. And you don't know what's going on with this person. You just see the person acting out. And then that's when the judgment, criticism, lack of patience, compassion, tolerance is taking place, because it doesn't make sense. 5 minutes ago, everything was great. And 5 minutes later, like the person must be bipolar, must be schizophrenic, must be like something is wrong. Like, I don't understand that you have like these mood swings, or I don't understand that, like it goes from one extreme to another. And you need to know that 99% of the times when there is a reaction for a child or for an adult, it is because there is a need that is not being met. And so when we're talking about letting go of the things that we want, or thinking that we know better what our loved ones and the people that we care about, that we think that we know better what they need or what would be best for them, that is what we truly, truly, truly have to let go of, because this is our restriction. The moment that you think that you know better, that is when you're telling the light, you're telling the universe, I don't need you, I can do better here. But if everything is crystal clear and everything is perfect and everything is magnificent and there is growth and there is harmony and there is synergy and there is a great dynamic, then this does not apply to you. But if there is a relationship, or there is a where there was chemistry, and that chemistry right now is like frustrated or aggravated or whatnot, you need to know maybe there is something that I'm focusing on right now that is not the best either for me or for the other person. So 99% of the times that is the case. When a person acts out, when a person feels lonely, when we go through the hole in our chest, when we feel depressed, or we feel down, or we feel sad, or we feel angry and sometimes rage, those are the expressions of an emptiness that is communicated by the, I was going to say by the universe, but by extension our soul, because it is the soul that communicates with the universe, come and slap the face of Yehuda because he's not listening. So I need your help to come and wake him up, because he is like keeping on doing like the same mistake over and over again, or he's like miscommunicating over and over again with the same person in the same way, and it's not moving forward. And if it's not moving forward, it's not that it's gonna move backward, it's just gonna break apart. And that is when you see great relationship break. That is when you see marriage and friendship and businesses break apart, because there is something that is needed that is not being brought to the surface as this is what needs to be dealt with. And I can bring, like, as I'm talking, I have like all sorts of examples, even like with the big corporation, big businesses, or people that thought that they were invincible like a few days ago. Suddenly, like the universe and the news come and like slap them in the face and says, I try to warn you. I try to send you like all sorts of messages. You need to be more tactful. You need to be more gentle. You need to be more caring. You need to be less divisive. You need to like all sorts of things. Like look at what's going on in the politics. Look at what's going on with COVID. What's going on with, I mean, it's crazy. We can go into like a whole different conversation right now. And the universe is communicating. The earth is communicating. And human beings are ignoring. I was thinking about it also no later than today, yesterday, the past week. We are all so possessive over the different pieces of land on the earth, right? And you can think like this is like, there is like maybe 2,000 or 3,000 years of history of what we know, since like I would say, let's go back to what the Zohar and what the Bible is talking about. That discovering different things in archaeology that are hundreds of thousands year old, all sorts of metals and hammers. There were civilizations before us that were living on Earth, that had their own experience. But let's leave this aside. It's just very interesting and mesmerizing, at least for me. Like, I'm very curious about those things. But when we're looking at those things, going back to that piece of land that we are possessing, this is America, this is Mexico, this is Israel, this is Palestine, this is North Korea, South Korea, like Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland, wherever you go. And even within one country, you would see the division and that hate, not just in the culture, in the history, in the religions. Like, it's very famous that, people in southern England are, not very liking the northern England people. The same in France, the same in Germany, the same in East Berlin, West Berlin. I mean, it's insane. You can find these divisions everywhere. And as long as we would keep and hold our consciousness to the lowest degree, which is basically Malchut, we would be subject to those divisions. And so when you zoom out, on this whole thing, and you see like this, you don't even see human beings when you're zooming out and you're watching from the space station, like gravitating around the Earth. You don't see human beings. You don't see cars. You don't see anything. You could see like maybe like a huge hurricane, or you could see like a weather event or something like that, or you could see like maybe big fires that are spreading or things like that, but you don't see the people that are inhabiting the earth. And we have like such a hold on that piece of land. We don't really have a hold on the piece of land. We have a hold to the 1%, to Malchut. When we're zooming out, we can see that the earth, if the earth gets to the level, gets to the edge of not being able to take it anymore, of all the pollution, of all the disrespect, of all the aggravation that the population of earth, of human beings, are doing to the earth is just going to spit it out. If it's with climate change, or if it's with fires, or or crazy different like tsunamis and earthquakes and things like that. Some people might think that like it's a coincidence and whatnot. I do not believe in coincidences, and I do believe that the earth has an intelligent consciousness, and the earth is not ours. It is not ours. It is giving us, lending us sort of like a playing field to go through our human experience as a soul. And once we're done in the best way, we leave this earth and then we restart if it's needed, etc., etc. But this is not our earth. This is not our land. Once we die, there is nothing left of us. We go back to being dust. So sure, the people, like they have like their how do you call it, like their legacy, their children, their grandchildren, etc. And you see, like, there is no history of an empire that has survived any type of historical event. You see, all the empires in the history of mankind have perished. And so imagine about an individual that is holding on so dear to our issues, to our problems, to our need for, or to our want for this type of prosperity or that type of success, or this will make me happy or that will make me happy. And then we realize when we are zooming out that none of this is important. And one good way that the Zohar here is teaching us through Joseph is that we have to let go of the things that we want and enable the universe, enable the light, enable God to give us what we need. We can accelerate this if we, as human beings, as individuals, we practice that with the people that we care about. Because God, even though God wants to give you more than you want to receive, the Creator can only, or at best, mirror what we do in a spiritual way. So when we share, the universe shares with us. When we are helping a person in need, then the universe helps us. God helps us when we are in need. So imagine if we practice the lesson that is so essential and fundamental here. What the Zohar is teaching us here is to let go of what you want and allow the universe and God to give you what you need. You can accelerate that if you practice that with somebody that you care about. As you practice that with somebody that you care about, you will see it accelerated in an incoming event, in an incoming good news, incoming flow of abundance, whatever that abundance means in your life, to come a flow in your existence as you've never experienced it before. Yes, Ellen. I can't hear you.
Okay. Can you give an example of what that looks like when you actively feel like you're trying to, do the thing that you think is needed, and then you make a conscious decision to restrict and let go? When you're letting go, what does that look like? Does that mean you're letting go and scanning and asking for help? Does it just mean that you just go about your business and it's very hard to let go without knowing what to do? Are you saying a prayer when you're letting go for please, asking for help? Or are you just starting a project to keep your mind busy? Like, what does it look like to let go when it's hard to let go? What do you do with that when you know what you need to do?
I have countless of examples, and this is thanks to Rebecca. And the same that I see it applicable with the children, I see it applicable also with adults. because, children have like small toys, we just have bigger toys. And those toys, I mean, it can be different things. So for them, it could be like a car, and for you, it can be like, like a relationship, a respect, and titles, and recognition and appreciation. It's just different things, different names. And so I see the dynamic with the kids, and maybe subconsciously I'm applying it because I see it so often with Rebecca and the kids, is that, let's just say that we are all, as human beings, very result oriented, or very much organically problem solvers. And so if it is not about solving our own problem, we are very good, especially experts at solving other people's problems. And so my nature when a child is throwing a fit is, to address the issue. And very often the issue is rarely the issue. Right now, if they're throwing a tantrum, it's because there is something that is bothering them. If he's hitting his sister, or if an adult is disrespecting that individual, or is calling people names, or is going to work and he's just being all sorts of names that come to my mind that I won't, share right now on the screen. But you can imagine that in a work environment, you have people that are very nice, very gentle, very respectful, and then you have those that, almost nobody can stand. And when you're dealing with conscious discipline with ourselves or with others, the first thing that you think is, what is bothering this in this individual's life? What is going on in his life or her life for that person to act in this way? So when there is proximity between the individuals, you can go and you can have a conversation. If there is no proximity or intimacy whatsoever, then there is nothing that you really can do, but you just need to make sure that you make an effort not to take it personal, because very often somebody like this is acting towards you and right away you think that something is wrong with yourself. But going back to the kids, and so I see very often that, Rebecca would ask questions, and, I most of the time don't have the patience to ask this line of questions. And she would just sit there, and they would be like in the middle of fighting or screaming or tantruming. And she would ask these lines of questions that are coming to her, after, I guess, the practice, almost intuitively, to ask those right questions, like, what did you feel? What brought you to acting this way? What happened? And like to make him like really go through, like a whole chain of event, and suddenly like it becomes as something that is so trivial and so small, but it meant something bigger for him. And so it doesn't mean that the kid or the child or the adult is going to stop acting out, but it's to allow that person to go through their process. A person going through a process doesn't make it your process. And so, and the older we get and the longer that process takes, because it's very hard, because everything is masked after that, like in the older age, like you can't even retrace where it began. But with the children, it's much easier because, something happened at school and the child comes at home and he's like acting out and you have no clue what's going on. Why is the kid acting in this way? And so you can also have your spouse that is like, something very trivial and small happened at 8:30 a.m. when he arrived, at work, and this barista, said something like really nasty, and because he was having, a rough time with his spouse or with his children or something, or with his boss, we don't know, like it's a chain of events, right? It's like a snowball. And so this little thing that happened at 8:32 throughout his whole day. And he was short and he was nasty. And, I'm talking, potentially about your husband, where he can be like anybody. And then he comes home and he's still not recovered from that event. And he's acting out with you and he's acting out with your children. And you know that you didn't do anything wrong. like, like logically, like, you go through the events because it makes you question, what did I do to deserve such, temperament, such reactions, such treatment? And very quickly, we need to come to the realization it has nothing to do with me. Something is going on in the life of this individual that he went through something. So to walk through a tantrum with a child is probably easier than to do it with an adult. But you can also do it with an adult when the adult is maybe a little bit calmer. And if you have like I would say like the foundation and the backbone to go through a conversation, because sometimes we're just intimidated and we don't like confrontation and we just don't want to do it. And the thing is that it's not about like letting go and whatever. This is not even the word, because we can easily get into a dynamic where, like there is one person that is like very strong and the other person is not as strong. And the person who is not as strong is going to continuously, like for the last 20 years, let this other person who is stronger, like step on the person that is like not as strong. And it's not a matter of let go. Like I guess it's a different conversation. So this is why, like it's easier to talk about kids, because sometimes we get into defining an ongoing thing that's happening with adults that are not easy to, to put a word to it, put like, oh, okay, so this is what it is, to diagnose. Because once you diagnose, you put a name to it, it's hard to go back from there. With children, it's easy. Like they have a tantrum, you walk with them through the tantrum and what happened, and then you let them have the tantrum. You allow them, you don't shut them up and you don't tell them, stop it, and you don't yell at them. Yesterday, I was at an event, at a Hanukkah party event, and there was very nice people, every single one of them. And then it came to me witnessing a gross parenting, whatever you call it. The father had one child that was on the phone. His other daughter was coming and she grabbed the phone from the other sister. And you see the father, huge eyes, angry, pushing away the kid. I don't care what you say. And she's like 5 or 6. And he's talking to her, he's getting angry with her as she was an adult that could carry, that could, like maybe even an adult would not absorb something like that and be okay with it. But this situation creates traumas in the life of an individual. What does it mean, trauma? It means that if there was an individual, especially in this age between 4 to 8 or something like that, that was screaming at you, and the people that you trusted, which is your mom sitting next to you, is like not saying anything, you think that it's normal. And you build a belief system where it's normal that people scream at you. And then you find yourself going to school and the teacher is screaming at you. And then you marry a husband that is screaming at you. And then you have children that are screaming at you. And then you have, parents-in-law that are screaming at you. And the neighbors are screaming at you. And I want you to realize what I'm talking about. Yes. So when, maybe I went adrift a little bit, but the idea here, again, if we want to sort of like connect to the dots, is that what I want for my own process is to first not to take things personal when people's processes are being projected on me. This is the first thing. It's not about letting go. It's just like, like building a strong foundation that I have my own process, my own tikkun, and people have their own. It is a long process to dissect and to separate the two. Not, first to realize that other people have their own process, and when they're going through their tantrum or their sadness or their anger or whatever, or their frustration, not to let it project on me and let it affect me. This is not letting go. This is drawing not just physical, but emotional and spiritual boundaries. And this is key in every relationship. After that, when you have a dynamic, different topic, when you have a dynamic with people that you care about and you are the helper, what Joseph is teaching us here is not when things are coming at you and slapping your face that you need to let go. It's not letting go. I wouldn't call this let go. What Joseph is teaching us here is what we have to let go is being involved in what is best for somebody else's process. Why? Because in some ways it benefits me. Now, when I'm saying I care about this person and this is why I did it, I really did it. If we're honest with ourselves, it's because it made me feel good. It made me feel important. It made me feel powerful. It made me feel charitable. It made me feel like, like the holistic or the spiritual individual. And so really letting go is when it deals with somebody else's process that we need to let, it's their process. I need to learn and practice letting go, not getting involved in other people's process. And the more I'm going to do that, and the more the universe is going to allow me to start seeing what is best, what is right for my own process, what I need for my own process. So we're so involved, and I see it like, and it's not just with my kids, it's also with my students. I know better, right? The same as you know better with your sisters and with your brothers and with your children, you know better. Why? Because you care. It's the biggest trap. Because you care doesn't make you knowing better. Did I answer your question?
You did. I liked the tangent also. I just feel like I need to listen to this again, and maybe I just need a separate conversation, because this is a very big part of my, I think, personal tikkun. So it's a lot. I'm taking it in and trying to sift through what you're saying. It's really important that I understand. So I liked it all, everything you said.
Great.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, guys, thank you very much for joining today. And as usual, I'm looking forward for next week. Love you all and see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.